In today's video, I add a thinner to yellow paint. I heat parts with a hairdryer. Also, I paint tiny labels. I make a pen spring red. And lastly, I lost my mind with the instruction manual. Hello fellow modelers! I recently received this lovely kit Lamborghini Aventador Liberty Walk from Sydney's Scale Garage. This kit is crafted entirely from resin and is packed with incredible metal details. The casting quality is impeccable, with no flaws or bubbles. Liberty Walk is a Japanese company known for its unique body kits and tuning modifications that transform luxury cars into crazier shapes. The Aventador already has a bold design, but Liberty Walk takes it to another level by creating wide body version. You have there 5 marking versions, but only the yellow one is production model and not a concept. One thing to note is that the body is missing panel line near the engine. Handy tool for scribing is ordinary razor saw. There are not many parts for cleaning, because the most of the parts are cast as a single piece. It is only essential to remove a mold runner and clean residual resin. I prefer using flexible superglue to bond resin and metal parts, because it is strong and dries quickly. The instruction manual has many steps in one picture, and it could be slightly overwhelming. Take this interior door part for instance, at least it is colorful. Some of the metal components are quite small, so I need to be careful not to lose them. The resin has a greasy finish, so I clean the surface with isopropyl alcohol to enhance color adhesion and prevent any peeling. I prefer using Mr. Finishing Surfacer Black for black sections. It has a lovely satin effect, is resilient and has excellent coverage. The kit includes 5 large sheets with waterslide decals. Primarily handy are pre-cut decals with a carbon texture, because this machine has many carbon parts. I usually soak the decals into hot water at about 60 degrees Celsius, as this makes them more pliable and helps avoid any cracks or rips. Additionally, I use chemical solutions for decals, Microset for setting and Microsol for increasing flexibility, which allows the decals to smoothly copy the underlying details and shapes. Also, these chemicals are not too aggressive like Mr. Setter or softer, so you have more time to correct the position. I use acrylic paints for small details, because they dry quickly and have a perfect opacity. A great tip for applying decals on complex shapes is to use a hairdryer. The heat makes the decals even more flexible, and when combined with the decal's chemicals, you can easily apply them to round, coaxial shapes. Just be careful not to use any sharp tools like tweezers or toothpicks at this stage, as this layer is quite delicate and can be easily damaged. Instead, stick to using a paintbrush or a cotton swab. One of the trickiest sections is doors. I'm applying decals directly to the primer, but good practice is to use a thin layer of a clear varnish or black paint with a gloss finish. The clear varnish creates a smooth layer, allowing decals to slide more easily. So if you do not apply it precisely to the place, you can easily reposition it or correct it. The door is composed of 6 carbon decals, and the application took some time. Make sure to eliminate all the bubbles. And this is the result after setting. You can notice complex round shapes with pan lines. It is probably one of the most difficult shapes I have worked on. I want in the interior nicely shiny carbon surface, so I'm applying a few layers of a clear lacquer varnish. If you want a matte effect, just use a matte varnish instead. The kit comes with numerous carbon parts, which means you will spend just a few days applying the decals. Okay, let's move on the engine section. It is simplified design with only a few visible details. I personally enjoy more intricate decals, but since this area isn't visible once it's all put together, it isn't a huge issue. I like these aluminum decals from Ayers. It would be tricky to make a few straight silver lines with a paintbrush. The cylinder head cover with a cooler has a distinctive gold shade. I mix this particular shade of gold with a red to get the look I want. In the kit are lovely chrome stickers. They are nowadays standard even in cheaper Tamiya plastic kits. They are cell adhesive, so you don't need to apply any glue under. I smooth the center engine cover with a sandpaper and apply carbon decal. I have some spare screw heads from Kawasaki H2R. I use them as a lovely detail. It is better than painting only silver dots. Top Studio is producing a set that includes only the screws and bolts. Only disadvantage is that it is hard to find them and they are usually sold out. I also use spare carbon decals on the frame. After examining a few Aventador engines, I noticed that the suspension springs could be either red or yellow. I found that the red ones really stand out. The header yellow strip were missing in the kit, so I had to use a white and repaint them with a paintbrush. I painted the metal parts with a primer, then remove the top paint layer from raised details with a soft sandpaper. The result is much fancier and more interesting than just a flat black surface. Don't forget to clean the surface with alcohol before spraying again. The soapy water works well as an alternative too. I like this Tamiya stand and holder for the car body. It allows more comfortable manipulation meanwhile spraying process. First I'm spraying grey primer, which highlights imperfections or dust particles. Also helps with a color adhesion. To achieve a smooth surface, I use 2000 grit sponge sandpaper. The body is nicely molded and clean, so I don't have much work with it. Only the wheel discs require more attention. They have a pronounced mold lines, which I must gently remove with a sharp hobby blade and smooth sandpaper. Once that was sorted, I apply a final layer of a black primer. The tightening wheel nut has a shiny red finish. Therefore, I applied the serval layer first and then the soft layer of a transparent red paint. There are lovely details like the Lamborghini logo or tire valve. I use a strong decal chemical to smooth the logo on the tire. Now onto a car body painting. It can be a bit messy, so I highly recommend working in a well-ventilated room while wearing a suitable respirator. I recently started using Mr. Color GX paints for car models, primarily because they have a good coverage and have a lovely, shiny and smooth finish. And I am using trigger style airbrush with a 0.5mm nozzle, applying several thin layers and allowing them to dry in between. I repeat this process until I achieve full opacity. Keep in mind that these paints dry more slowly than acrylic, so do not touch the model for at least 1 day. Since the body is cast in one piece, it took some time to carefully mask all the black sections. I use flexible contour masking tape for round shapes, but you can use electrical insulation tape as a cheap alternative. Make sure to mask off the entire yellow area with a tape, as the dust from the black paint can get easily everywhere. I painted the thin door frames with a paintbrush. Since Mr. Color Paint is nicely shiny, I don't need to apply clear varnish under the decals. It is great because you will avoid using multiple layers of a clear varnish. These door labels make my life more difficult, because it was not easy to smooth them with the surface. I applied a few layers of a clear varnish on the surface and a thicker layer over the decals. You can notice that under the light is surface shiny, but not smooth. Primarily the decals are raised above the surface. In this scale it must be perfectly uniform. Therefore, I am carefully smoothing out the decals and the entire surface with a 3000 grit sponge sandpaper. I even tried 8000 grit sandpaper, but I achieved the best result with this sponge. You must be careful to sanding decals, because the varnish layer is thin and you can easily damage the decals. The result after sanding is nicely uniform. The next step is polishing. While there are many polishing products available these days, I prefer classic Tamiya products. Polishing involves 3 or 4 steps. The first is red compound, which is crucial for eliminating the deepest scratches. When polishing, avoid using paper towels or synthetic fabric from old shirt, as they can create more scratches than you have started with. Instead, opt for clean microfiber cloth for the best results. The second polishing compounds take care of the finer scratches, while the final polishing compounds leave a lovely shiny surface. Using an electric grinder with a cotton polishing wheel can be helpful, but make sure to work with a low RPM. High speed can generate enough heat to damage the varnish. The last step is usually not important, but it will make the surface even shinier. It is polishing wax. If you made all the steps meticulously, you will not see any scratches. To clean off residual polishing compound from edges, I use airbrush and clean water. The engine hood features a complex shapes and grills. I want this section covered with a carbon, but unfortunately the kit doesn't come with the decals for it. You can buy decals of a carbon texture. The only disadvantage is that it is not pre-cut and you must play more with the application. It would be probably better to separate the decals into smaller segments, but I wanted to test if it's possible to make it from one piece. Now I can say it wasn't, and I added 3 more small segments on the thin and deeper back section. Comfortable roof was much easier. A hairdryer and decals chemicals are necessary for these shapes. I am applying a few layers of a clear varnish, which unify the surface. I am using acrylic paint for the middle section of the seat, which should be dark grey. Although the kit provides decals for this area, they didn't fit properly. If I had known this beforehand, I would have painted the grey area before applying the yellow lines. Oil paint is great for subtle shading. This paint job is tricky because it combines both gloss and matte finish, which means I need to do more masking. Finally, I am applying a light coat of a matte varnish to all the black sections. With this done, the model is ready for assembly. All the large sections are attached with screws. Only the holes were shallow and I made them slightly deeper. I prefer slightly smaller screws or some covers, but since they are on the underside, nobody will see them. The car has ceramic braking discs, and I am making them less uniform and shiny with a black wash. I am scratching metal parts with a soft sandpaper to increase color adhesion. It works well to spray black parts while they are still attached to the sprue. The metal mesh is partly transparent, so I cannot have yellow paint under it. The wide body kit doesn't fit precisely, and I had to trim away a bit of material. Even with this adjustment, I ran into issue attaching the wing. I ended up using more super glue than I had planned. Attaching the wheels was again quite tricky, because there wasn't much space left. I sprayed silver beneath the front lights to give them more realistic look. The kit has crazy taillights. There is small metal part for each segment, and I painted them with a transparent enamel paints. I am applying dark wash to make the details more pronounced. The clear parts are made from pre-cut foil. While applying it to the flat surface went smoothly, I faced some difficulties with a round windshield. I used super glue, but the fit wasn't quite right, so I had to trim a bit of windshield for better alignment. The window has cover foil and it is good to remove it when the part is in the place. I noticed that there are missing holes for wiper installation. The roof and hood should have a matte finish. To achieve a smooth finish, I apply clear varnish and lightly sand it with a fine sandpaper. Then I sprayed very soft layer of matte varnish to cover up any scratches. The side windows have a thin metal frames. I cannot use PVA glue or super glue because it dries too quickly in thin layer. Therefore I use this glue stick for paper. I applied only minimal amount of glue and it holds well. Primarily, there is no danger of damaging clear parts with excess glue. The fumes from superglue created a foggy surface in some areas, so I have tested this finishing wax system from Scale Garage. It is professional wax for real cars, so it works nicely and removed all impurities. I noticed several cables and wires were missing in engine compartment, so I went ahead and added a few. And with these finishing touches, the model is complete. The Aventador Liberty Walk looks so aggressive that it wants to fight every other models on my shelf. Look at these white fenders, this thing takes up more space in parking lot than Tesla's Cybertruck. I am quite pleased with the result, but I don't want to see carbon decals for a while. I prefer making a bit older car models, but this aggressive beast was an interesting change and experience. That is all, thank you for patience and watching. Huge thanks to my patrons for their support. See you next time!